Good day, everyone, and welcome to the Literally Unplayable podcast episode. Muaaz is fit finally. I am Muaaz Suleiman, sitting here with Chris Berger,
Hello.
and this is the show where we take whatever we find interesting in the last 2 weeks and hopefully share it with you. So let's jump right into it. It's been a while since we had a proper episode, and surprisingly, not much has happened, or not much major has happened.
Well, except for a few interesting little news outbreaks, big stores blaming Nintendo for poor sales because Logic.
Yes.
Trump announcing he wants to build a solar wall now instead of just a regular wall, which I found to be incredibly fascinating.
Which is, it's this merging of a really, really good idea and a really, really bad idea.
It's confusing a lot of us.
Yeah.
And I'm moving.
Yes, you finally got a place.
A nice place. Expensive, but nice.
So we'll be going on that adventure next week. And then who knows, maybe next time we record, we'll have a nice little setup, proper table, we'll have proper chairs. Because that'll be really good. But we'll see how that happens going forward. And what else happened that I found interesting? Yes, the Nintendo SNES Classic.
Oh, don't get me started on that, please.
I know.
Just no.
It's you can buy. It's a Raspberry Pi. You get more from a Raspberry Pi when you. I don't understand.
I'm about halfway through setting up my Raspberry Pi with Recallbox 4.0.1, which officially got released. Finally, they took their damn time with it. But yeah, you just flash it, load ROMs onto it, and voila, you have an SNES, you have an NES, you have an Atari, you have a PC, Jaguar, you have all the Ataris, all the Commodores, you have PlayStation, you have N64, you have all the Segas, you have all the Nintendos.
Just that whole idea of having a nostalgia machine, it just seems so stupidly redundant.
But the SNES Classic has a controller that looks like the SNES controller, and the box looks like the SNES.
Yes, and it's got Star Fox, the
unreleased version of Star Fox, which is on emulators anyway, so...
I don't understand why anyone would want to do that. It's just...
Nintendo is pulling a Nintendo. Let's just leave it at that. Nintendo's doing a Nintendo, and Nintendo does Nintendo best.
Now, I know one commentator... have you watched Video Game Donkey?
Yes.
In his E3 2017 review, okay? Nintendo don't understand marketing, customers, how to run a business, but they know how to make games.
Yes.
And that's the only thing we love Nintendo for. So...
I still buy Nintendo games. I think they're fantastic.
I've not bought a Nintendo game for a while, but I might actually pick up the Switch. But then comes down to another issue with Nintendo, where their supply chain is just horrible.
Well, it's not directly their fault. You can technically blame Apple for that, because Apple pretty much has these big contracts that lock down flash memory manufacturers, and apparently we only have one flash memory manufacturer. Why we only have one is beyond me.
But it's... Here's the thing. If it was in a proper supply and it was available to people, then people would buy it. It doesn't make any sense. I'm
still considering the Switch, but the 2DS is launching at the end of this coming month, so I'm buying that.
But then comes out of our discussion: is Nintendo pushing their resources towards the Switch, or are they just phasing out the DS?
Nintendo has a few claims. I'll see if I can't find them. I mean, they're going to be buried by now, but Nintendo has a few claims saying that no, the Switch is their next console, that the 3DS is still being a fully supported platform. But we all know Nintendo likes to lie a lot.
No, it's just they don't understand how to market themselves. They don't understand how to get a message across. Because when
they marketed the Switch pretty well.
They marketed it well, but now we sit in this point of uncertainty, where they're not telling us the information we need to make an informed purchasing decision.
I think Nintendo is trying to see how it goes first. I think Nintendo wants to first see how the Switch sells before they decide to kill the 3DS or not.
Okay, but I'll still have to wait to make the decision whether I'm going to buy a Switch. It's...
Because money.
Because money.
Because adulthood is not as fun as it seems to be. Don't grow up, kids. It's a lie.
Yeah, we've just been complaining about that whole morning. But that's Nintendo's front. What else happened in the world of news?
Well, let's go on to our first discussion point, being DMCA, the Digital Millennium Copyright Act.
Digital Medium Copyright Act.
Medium. Yes. I thought it was Millennium.
No.
Oh, I've been pronouncing that wrong for a few years.
It was enacted in 1996.
Okay, so the Digital Media Copyright Act essentially says that if you are the copyright owner of something, you're allowed to tell other people, no, I'm the copyright owner, give it back to me. And people have been...
I might have messed up as digital millennium. I was misinformed, I'm sorry.
Okay, so anyways, the Digital Millennium Copyright Act essentially says you should be allowed to take content away from people because it's yours. Anyway, so YouTube became a thing 20 years ago, right?
Yes, about
roughly 20 years ago. So people started uploading movies and music and series so that other people can watch it for free, which is wrong. You're not supposed to do that.
YouTube is a platform. And that's the thing. You can.
Yeah, but can I just start? Can I just start? Because I can see you jumping the gun. I can see that jump coming. It's like pole vault level of jumping, and I just tripped you. I'm like, no.
Okay.
No.
Carry on.
So people started uploading movies and so on and so forth, and the big people like Warner Brothers and Disney threatened to sue the everlasting life out of Google. So Google implemented bots. These bots can analyze content, discern a pattern from them, which is amazing technology. If you know anything about image processing, if you can process a series of images and develop an ID out of that, that's amazing. Then they figured out that which ID belongs to who, so Disney would give all their movies to these bots and say, these are our movies, these are our copyright. These bots then flag these things, so on and so forth. And this is all to do with the Digital Millennium Copyright Act. And essentially, it's developed a new term now in the YouTube scene, a DMCA strike, whereby I upload something that belongs to someone else, they issue a DMCA takedown notice to me, YouTube automatically takes it down from my YouTube channel, and I get 1 strike point. 3 strike points and your YouTube channel is deleted immediately, no questions asked.
It's not deleted, it's demonetized permanently.
No. One DMCA strike demonetizes your YouTube channel. 3 DMCA strikes, your YouTube channel is deleted unless you can get that 3rd DMCA strike counter-claimed.
And then you counter-claim it, yes.
Yes. I'm sorry, but I've been doing research on this. Don't try to...
No.
Anyway, so a certain someone has recently decided to go on a bit of a DMCA rampage because, the most famous DMCA rampage was 2013's DMCA rampage from Sega, which they still haven't apologized for, whereby they literally shut down entire channels just because they wanted to manipulate the search results to get their trailer on top of the search results. YouTube still hasn't done anything because it's a big corporation versus small channels. They don't care. Recently, what's her name?
Alex Mauer.
Alex Mauer had a contract with someone. I forgot who they were.
I'll get the name now. The Star Mazer, developed by Images Software.
Yes, okay. So Images Software handed out a contract to Alex Mauer. Alex Mauer was to make music. Now, she's making many music before. I believe she even worked on the Need for Speed series.
Yeah,
very, very famous girl. Lovely lady. And apparently she left the company a month before her contract ended. We're not entirely sure what happened there. She then very quickly and quite rapidly started issuing DMCA takedown notices to YouTube videos of this game because apparently it was her content. But as we all know, that if you work on that contract, it's not technically your content. Wada. We're not going into the legal aspect of that. This is not a legal discussion podcast. She issued something like 88 DMCA takedown strikes on videos, shutting down a few channels, even. And her reason for this, and this is galling, she wants to make the YouTubers so angry that they start attacking the video game developer instead because of a contract dispute. She is using a broken legal system to destroy someone's livelihood to try and just get back at her former employer. And she went mental. She started making posts on Twitter to be like, oh no, you people are all anti-transgender, which is the first time we all found out that she was transgender. So, good work, sunshine. And then it's like, no, you're also sexist, you're against women, and you're against people following their dreams. You took down someone's YouTube channel. That's their dream. So she went crazy, and she's not the first to have done this.
No.
She's the next in a long light. Now, okay, there is a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel. Apparently, some authorities have managed to get a hold of her. She's been taken into protective custody to protect her from herself, her family, because her tweets have gone a little bit deranged, and that's putting it lightly. She posted very interesting things about, before I die, I have to kill you first, to a couple of YouTubers, which is a red flag. And not that small little red flag. There's that big red flag where it says it's time to intervene now. So she's been taken to protective custody. She's going to receive treatment now, and everything's going to be made fantastic again. Big YouTubers like Total Biscuit or whatnot have used their big influence on the YouTube gaming scene to get the admins of YouTube to start counterclaiming these things automatically. So these things have at least been fixed, which is the first time in a long line you've seen actually YouTube videos being fixed of the DMCA.
Real-time action. And that's where you were saying it's been happening for a while, and now the community is, especially the gaming community in YouTube, is really big, and they're saying we need protection from these type of things because, as I said earlier, YouTube is a platform, and I don't think we can think of it as the new platform that it was 20 years ago. It's 20 years old, and the systems aren't in place properly anymore to protect content creators. The systems aren't in place to ensure that the rights aren't infringed from actual publishers and developers. There's this middle ground that needs to be taken because, let's see, a few years ago we also saw DMCA being used for other purposes, where movie critics like Nostalgia Critic, a lot of his videos were claimed a strike because he was criticizing the movies, and this is historical movies. It practiced fair use.
Yes.
He did practice fair use where his comments were legitimate. The manner in which he presented the content was fair. It was adding on. He was building his own thing. And then for publishers saying, no, you showing our product, we're going to claim against you.
So let's quickly go into what happened here in a little bit technical detail. Trailer footage and B-roll footage is meant for people to use freely to talk about things, to show things, so on and so forth. And a lot of publishers, be it movies, music, video games, all of this, they've all used this public footage as a way to flag channels down, take away their monetization rights, and take down their videos, purely because of its censoring criticism. And YouTube did nothing against that. Yeah. There's a hashtag going around called Where's the Fair Use, which is the second half of this discussion. Fair use is a policy defined by an American law system. And since YouTube is an American-based company, it has to follow this policy, whereby when you take someone else's content, you can't blindly put it up. You have to put only a part of it up, and you have to modify it and do something with it in such a way that you can say it is now modified work. You have a fair amount of the content can be used, a small fraction, such as movie reviews, where you show just a little bit, like less than a minute sometimes, even, of the movie's footage can be used to, is used to criticize a movie. And then the movie guys come in say, nope, that is our content, they take it down, and YouTubers have to fight to get these videos back up again, saying that, sorry, no, I'm criticizing your product. This is something I'm doing. You're censoring my criticism, and it's a battle to get YouTube to monetize it again. And there was this huge spiel about advertising revenue as well.
Because publishers, they say we produce this content and you are earning ad revenue on work based on the content that we created. So aren't we entitled to some of that ad revenue? Because I know Nintendo proposed something to do to that effect earlier.
It's currently in place, and it's an incredibly unfair system, and people keep criticizing it.
Because I don't understand what Nintendo says is, if you want to show let's play footage or you want to show gameplay review footage of our products, then you have to split the ad revenue with Nintendo. And then also, I think they also have some restrictions on the type of language and diction that you use in your videos, where if you start showing non-advertiser friendly footage, then they'll give you a proper strike against you and stuff like that. It's a really confusing system because, like I say, publishers don't really understand how the platform works, where people are creating content and they're creating their own content based on existing products. And this is not something that we foresaw coming. Like, we never really understood that people would be like the React channels. React channels became a really big deal, especially after Fine Brothers coined it. Remember when Fine Brothers wanted to copyright the React format?
So what the Fine Brothers essentially do is they take certain groups of people, be it old people or young people or teenagers, they put them in a room, they show them some footage, and then they record their reactions and publish that on YouTube as content. The Fine Brothers tried to copyright this.
They trademark it.
Oh yeah, trademark it, and systematically started issuing, even before people heard the news of their trademarking of this, they started issuing DMCA takedown notices on other YouTube channels that was doing something not even exactly the same. If it was just vaguely similar, they issued DMCA takedown notices. And this is especially terrible thing to do, because you are a YouTuber that is being threatened by DMCA takedown notices, and then you weaponize it.
And
That is very hypocritical.
Very hypocritical, and we can argue about whether React channels are a fair use form of content. There's a lot of argument there, but the thing is, this is someone else making their own content. Okay, whether it's copycatting another person's idea doesn't make a difference. You are still making it by yourself. If you had to take someone else's video and post it on your channel, that would be an argument to have. But copying a format, how do you?
That is the very definition of a genre being developed. Yes. I heard that the other day on a podcast. That the definition of a genre being developed is reuse of certain ideas and things put together, because there is no one horror movie. There are multiple horror movies. You cannot copyright or trademark the concept of making you go boo and being scared.
And the thing is, can you go as far to? Can we see people going as far where they try to trademark a personality or a type of persona? Because that's the differentiating factor in all of these in the genre. For the React channels, you have different creators who have their own personality or personas. And I know some people saying that you should be able to protect your identity because someone can kind of copy that identity. I mean, I probably, if you look online now, you'll find a lot of people copycatting the Jim Sterling or Total Biscuit style of doing reviews. You'll see a lot of people copycatting.
The most easy example would be PewDiePie.
Yeah, PewDiePie, exactly.
The most easy example is people copying exactly what PewDiePie tries to do. The same noises he makes, the same edits he makes, and they're wondering, why am I not getting as many views as this person is? And it's simple. It's already been done before. Copycatting something is not the road to success. It's the road to a lawsuit. You're supposed to adapt it. And probably one of the most famous video game examples we can use would be The Binding of Isaac and Rogue. The video game Rogue being a procedurally generated permadeath dungeon-based game, whereby you go through a dungeon, you fight monsters, and when you die permanently, but you got something that you can carry over to your next character. Binding of Isaac is also a roguelike game. It is like Rogue, whereby Isaac dies and he's dead permanently, but you might have unlocked something, randomly generated dungeons, randomly generated monsters that you've battled, and so on and so forth. But Binding of Isaac took it in a new direction. New art style, new game mechanics, and something new. Therefore, we have two roguelikes. None of them sue one another because it's not a trademarked concept. Therefore, the genre roguelike was developed. That is how you develop genres. You can't copyright something because it is, or you can't copyright all of one thing. You can copyright certain things, yes. So let's say I make a movie. Let's say I made the Wonder Woman movie. You can't upload it to your YouTube channel, or you can't make a movie that has the same plot line, the same voice lines, so on and so forth, because that is someone else's property.
Yeah, but what a channel like Nostalgic, I think, does very well is they've moved away from showing actual film footage. What they do now is, not all the time, but for some of the major films, what they'll do is they do the enactments of the scene.
They do little skits.
They skit it and they exaggerate the points that they're trying to drive home in their review.
Yes.
And that, I think, falls under fair use, because now you are making your own props, your own sets. You have your own props, actors, sets, and your own dialogue. You're making unique content based on someone else's content. Is that it's similar to what's that movie, Be Kind, Rewind?
Yes.
Something like that there. Does that... is that going beyond fair use?
No, it's not. It is more original than fair use allows for. The fair use doctrine in America says you can use someone else's movie footage, but people are abusing this. Even with the Mad Max review and the what's that movie about the dinosaurs and the
Jurassic Park.
Yes, and the latest Jurassic Park movie at time of recording, of course. Who knows if they make another one? They used still images from those movies. They didn't use actual footage. They used still images, and the publishers still used that as a reason to take their videos down because they were criticizing it. They had to completely move away from it. It is now beyond fair use. It is now original content. It is an official parody. You cannot, from a legal standpoint, you cannot touch this content. but you could still technically try and take it down and take him to court because these people have a lot more money. And that's the one problem with certain other DMCA type of lawsuits, whereby people have such huge funding behind them, they could just obliterate another YouTube channel just by dragging things out in court until they run out of money.
Now, let me give you one example of how DMCA has permanently, or not, we could say it might change in the future, but currently it has really decimated one big area of YouTube, which is the music scene, where people are doing a lot of cover music, a lot of cover artists were doing their own original covers of old songs, existing songs, and they were developing their audience, they were developing their style, they developing their platform, and then suddenly YouTube said, no, you're not allowed to do that anymore. Because now artists can't do cover tracks. And that's how a lot of people were making their mark or were developing their music careers, by covering popular songs on YouTube in their own style and building an audience and getting their feedback. YouTube doesn't allow that anymore.
Okay,
And
can I make a criticism against that? That to me sounds like a very bad way to develop an audience around your music career. Because if you want to be a good musician, you make your own original music.
no, I wouldn't say that, because for a lot of new artists, it is very difficult to develop your own identity, especially in the starting. A lot of new artists will...
I don't expect someone to make a completely unique identity, but I don't want to hear this person's take on, let's take a very, very, very famous example. I know this one ABBA song just kept getting recovered a couple of years ago. And I've forgotten. Oh, okay, so terrible example because I've now completely forgotten the name of the song. But let's say it's generic metal song number 103, I Am Angry. All right, let's say that's a song that was written, let's say it was written in 1992, performed by generic angry metal band 412-B, you know, because the first model didn't work so well, they had to print out a new one. And on average on YouTube, like let's say they kept this policy and you were allowed to make covers, you would see easily, I don't know, 100+ covers of the same song. That to me gets frustrating. Because how do I distinguish between who I like and who I don't like anymore at this stage? Because it's the same song over and over again, the same lyrics. It's just a different voice behind it, different instruments being used. This one made a dubstep cover, this one made a slightly different dubstep cover, this one made a pop cover, this one made a classic cover.
Yeah, but each person is doing it in their own style. So let's not look at it from our perspective as a consumer. Let's look at it from the DMCA perspective. These people are doing their own take on existing content. Does that qualify as something that's...
Yes. From a legal point of view, yes, that is beyond the reaches of fair use because it's not part of the content. It is all of the lyrics and the name. From a legal point of view, in America, that counts as copyright infringement. And Muaaz gets scared again by the other thing.
I'm going to get you another one, a better one.
No.
I'm going to get you one of those Yankee candles that you hang up on the wall or something like that, because that's just annoying.
Well, in our new setup, we won't have to worry about it anymore. This is the last time we can be scared by it because I'm going to put that in a different room.
You're going to hide it under my chair, aren't you?
No, I'm not going to hide it in your chair. That's what a spider is for.
I love spiders. Anyway.
Oh.
But
well, I'll find something you're scared of and hide it on your chair.
So let's agree to disagree, because I'd argue that there are a lot of good artists there who need to have a bit of a platform to present their work. And yes, we can argue that there is places like SoundCloud and Bandcamp or whatever where they can showcase it, but I think denying them the YouTube audience may be a bit of a disadvantage to them, because a lot of people go to YouTube for a lot of their content. And we can say also, according to the law, they have agreements, but there should be a bit of a middle ground. Maybe even at least like not monetizing the videos or something.
There needs to be a way where one can fairly monetize your own content within the scope of fair use without treading on legal toes. Also, there has to be a clear way of distinguishing between what is indeed fair use and what is just blatant copyright and DMCA abuse.
Yeah.
Who is abusing the DMCA system? Well, for the most part, and a lot of the time, Nintendo abuses it a lot.
Yeah.
Problem is, Nintendo is not an American company. It is a Japanese-based company that has other views on what is legal and what is not.
And we know Nintendo has a really long track record of shutting down fan projects and fan works, YouTube channels, criticisms, all of that. But that's their...
But that's not the point I'm trying to make. the point I'm trying to make is that it's cross borders.
Mm-hmm.
This is a cross-border legal issue, and you cannot just say, well, we'll just take it down in this country because Nintendo doesn't view it that way.
Yeah, it's not even cross-border. It's a global thing. The internet is a global medium.
The internet is a global medium. Laws are not, and that's the problem when it comes with YouTube. YouTube is both.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there was this other video. There's this great video of someone just talking about their favorite movies of I think it's 2016, or their top recent favorite movies of the current movie era. And he just showed publicly available trailer footage.
Mm-hmm.
A week later, he showed everyone a Twitter post. He took a screenshot of his YouTube page of the current state of that video. Fox putting something like 9 claims against that video alone. Fox, you know, some of them activating monetization but taking the monetization for themselves. Some of them deactivating the monetization so it copyright deadlocks and stuff, which we've spoken about before. And from the exact same company, one copyright automated bot just turned off the video, saying this video is no longer viewable by anyone in the entire planet.
Mm-hmm.
Blocked in all countries is the precise term. I'm thinking, like, why are your bots doing this? Your bots is flagging down someone's fair use. He used trailer footage from 9 different movies saying, oh, I like this one for this reason, I like this one for that reason, this actor had a good thing in this, it falls within fair use. Publicly available trailer footage isn't copyrightable because it is publicly accessible trailer footage. That is its purpose. This company just rolled in and said, cool, thanks for playing, your video's gone.
But we also have to consider that, let's play devil's advocate for a second. There are a lot of channels out there who will re-upload straight trailer footage and try to monetize the video and get those views. We know that happens. Okay, we know there are people who will upload a full TV series or a full movie on and try to monetize it or just even make it publicly available when it's not supposed to be according to the publisher's plan. We know there are channels that will steal videos from other YouTube videos and just upload it. We know that people who upload music videos, try to monetize it like that there. We know that these rules and these bots were built for the worst case scenario. And we do know that these rules and bots aren't smart enough to pick up, well, not even the gray area, to pick up what isn't in that dark, what isn't in the extreme. Because it sees 1 second of the thing that it's looking for, and using that 1 second or that one image, it makes a distinction that this thing here is what I'm looking for, we'll flag it. And that's,
which is incredibly stupid. We have the technology to develop smarter things. We've had it for years.
No, we know YouTube has the technology to do these things. If you look up, I think Matthew Patrick, he made a good breakdown of how YouTube is able to sort videos, to do frame-by-frame analysis, even to do thumbnail analysis, and to place these videos accordingly. It's been in developed for a long time, and the sad truth is even YouTube doesn't understand how this algorithm works. Like, people speak of the YouTube algorithm and how it favors videos. It's a very smart piece of technology. They don't even understand how it works. And I don't think they are willing to put it out to the publishers to say, okay, give us all the information that you need or all the flags that you want, and then we'll keep on developing it to make it smart enough to see which one of these flags are valid and which other flags will render this copyright strike invalid. Because we can see trailer footage here. If it's showing trailer sound and we know that someone else is speaking over it, there's a mismatch there, then you could say that it's a flag to say it might not be a copyright infringement. We can say that there's 10 seconds of trailer footage, but there's 90% of the video which isn't your footage. That should be smart enough to say, okay, this video isn't part of a copyright infringement. It doesn't pick up the nuances, and I think that's where technology needs to work to move away from broad strokes and get into those subtle points. And that's a lot of work and a lot of time.
It's not going to be that much work because there's pre-existing technologies that can make those distinctions that you can reuse. YouTube is, after all, a subsidiary of Google. They have access to incredible amounts of technology. And the cynic in me is saying that the publishers aren't going to support it because the publishers just want blind control. They are, after all, companies.
Yes.
And a company, not an individual, a company has a clear goal. I am important. Make as much money as possible, but I am important. No one else is allowed to make money. Only me. That's something a lot of people forget about companies. An individual is a human, is a person. You can say whether or not a person is good or bad. A company, by design, is a machine that is hateable.
Okay. But, okay, we've been talking about half an hour now. Let me just go slightly off topic, but in the same realm of things. I had a really interesting discussion with someone lately. Imagine libraries never exist, and someone had to propose the idea of a building where books sit in there and people can use them for free. Do you think the idea
Not for free. Not for free.
Not for free, you pay your taxes and so on, but imagine a government building where it's full of content and anyone can go in there, take that content out, use it as they will, and bring it back. Do you think the idea of a library would be feasible today? Without the publishers saying, no, we publish these books, without the authors saying, no, I wrote this book, I need to have some compensation. Do you think anyone would agree with it?
Okay, look, the cynical in me is saying that based on today's standards, yes, a lot of people would push back against the idea of a library if it never existed, because they would say, well, I'm not getting enough monetization. Yeah, you're giving me some money because I'm licensing out to you, but it's kind of the same way that Netflix worked, doesn't it? But then again, would Netflix exist if libraries never existed? Because Netflix is, quote unquote, a library of content. You pay a licensing fee to access it. Netflix gets 1 million people's licensing fees together in a pool. Netflix then pays a license per show it shows out. Also statistics, so it knows what's popular and what's not.
Yeah.
And it can sell that information to make its own money and so on and so forth. The cynic in me would say that a lot of people is going to push back against the concept of a library if it were to become new. Because after all, we are living in a quote-unquote, capitalism is the most famous economic power currently going.
It's the most widely used.
Yes, most widely used is the proper term, thank you. It is the most widely used economic system at this point in time. And what capitalism says is, no one can have anything for free. It's always something for something else, and it's always people trying to screw other people over as much as possible.
Cynical view of it, but yeah, enough.
But I'm sorry, that's who I am. Someone asked me to use an adjective to describe me with the first letter of my name. It's like, well, that's cynical. I'm sorry, that's just who I am. But that's how a lot of businesses would react. There would be some businesses out there that said, all right, great, let's do this licensing fee, and everyone has access to it, because maybe, and this is how some people work. I read book 1 of a series. The library doesn't have books 2 through, I don't know, 5.
That's what happened with Terry Pratchett and me. I found Terry Pratchett's one book, and then I ended up purchasing the entire series of his work.
Yeah, you had access to the first one, therefore you purchased more. But some companies unfortunately say, no, you can't do that. We want you to purchase 1 through 7. We want you to purchase all of it, but I don't have exposure to it. How do I know I'll like it? And companies use that logic, that illogical, what's the term, fallacy?
Logical fallacy.
Yeah, some people use that logical fallacy to just try and defend their own work, put a fence around it, and say no entry.
Yeah,
which is backwards.
Because when I think about like some of the digital experience I've had in the last few years, the TV show Rick and Morty.
Yes.
The reason I discovered that is because the entire first season was free on YouTube for a limited time. But I found that video, I just clicked on it out of curiosity, and that's my favorite TV show. Same with a lot of games I played. I found an open beta or a demo. I enjoyed it a lot. I ended up making a purchase. I haven't made that mistake for things I never enjoy. I never ended up not enjoying, like The Division. But because I was exposed to it for a period of time, I was able to make a decision. And now I'm doing a lot of my creative writing and work in a library. I can just walk around. I see books, I see works, I see pieces of history, encyclopedias. That inspires you. It gives you access to information that you wouldn't normally find in an open setting. And just having that access, keep making people exposed to information that's outside their normal sphere, I think that's a very valuable thing. And I think that's a lot of things that's something that we are losing with the modern capitalism, where you have to pay for access, you have to pay for the exposure, everything has a price tag, every experience has a price tag.
And the price tag doesn't grow larger in one way, it widens. So you're no longer just paying in cash, you're paying in privacy, you're paying in personal information, you're paying in advertisements, you're paying in more and more barriers to entry.
And where I'm going with this is, that's what YouTube was. It was a platform. It was a library of videos. Do you think we would have found the commentators that we have today, like Jim Sterling, Total Biscuit, all of these things?
PewDiePie.
PewDiePie. Do you think we would have had PewDiePie if he never had the open platform just to play Call of Duty and then end up playing Amnesia? No. Would we have gotten... there's works like... Even creative works. Like, I know... what's his name again? Bro Science. He was a YouTuber. He made these parody gym videos. And now he has a TV series. And now he can do that. We know local developers like Neil Blomkamp. Neil Blomkamp. His studio is busy putting up pilots left and right.
I'm sorry, but I have to criticize you for saying that because a lot of Americans are mispronouncing his last name, and it's making me try to punch my computer screen.
Yeah, but no, that's one thing. But now he's putting up pilots left and right, and I'm sure one of these things are going to be picked up, and then you will have a movie out of it. This open platform is beautiful.
There's always an argument for an open platform of any kind, be it video games, movies, music, creative writing, I don't know, fashion. Maybe there should be an open platform for fashion where everyone can design a shoe.
Yeah.
I'm not going to use it because, well, it's boring, but someone else will.
And they'll make something beautiful.
And someone can maybe build an industry out of it, create new work, create new industries, create new possibilities. And I'm not saying everything should go open platform. No. There should be an open platform next to a big monetizable paid-for platform. Because they should never be crossed. They should never be exclusive. But they should never try and compete with one another. There has to be a way to work with one another. Yeah. And that is something that companies like Nintendo is trying to push
And we need a place where people can play without the threat of a major publisher or a major developer or a major corporation coming in and saying, no, you're not allowed to do this.
That's just
because because competition breeds innovation. Competition breeds the next step in an industry, next step in a genre. And that's...
It's okay. My boss tried to pull this fast move on me. It's like, you wouldn't have your Android phone if it wasn't for iPhone. I was like, rubbish. I'm sorry, but the industry was pushing towards smartphones. Apple just happened to be one of the first ones pushing towards it.
Here's the thing. I'll give Apple this. They had a good interface and they had a good aesthetic.
But then it went south.
It went south, yeah, but they gave us the aesthetic. They gave us the buttonless screen. And yeah, we could say it would have gotten there. It got there.
Microsoft started it.
We started it, but that's why it was popular. People adopted that buttonless screen, and then we know Samsung changed their design after the iPhone came out. It's obvious.
Okay, look, that was another example of blatant copying this or that. But then it turns out that every phone had rounded corners and touch screen.
It turned into innovation. It turned into the innovation of Android having open developments.
And you know what? Copywriting or trademarking a product or innovation is the death of evolution of technology. If Apple really got away with what they wanted to back in the day, back when Samsung started releasing their phones, Apple really got away with what they wanted, we would never have moved beyond single core processor smartphones with basic web interfaces. We would never have moved beyond that. Today we have phones that have octa-core processors in them and graphics cards and 5G technology is being put into these phones. They are powerhouses. They are miniature supercomputers. You could, if you had the Wi-Fi infrastructure, which some countries do have, most countries don't. I mean, our country's trying to do that, and don't get me started.
Yeah, I love it.
But if you had the Wi-Fi infrastructure, for instance, you could farm. Imagine this. Now, most people don't use all the cores in their phones.
No.
They have octa-core processor phones. What do? They go on Facebook. Yeah, I'm using my octa-core processor for Facebook. Well done.
8,000 rand Facebook machine. Yeah,
yes,
love that argument.
Well, 16,000 rand for an iPhone. 16,000 rand Facebook machine. But I can take selfies with it. Yeah, gold star for you, sunshine. Anyway, imagine you can create a farm. You only use at most 1 or 2 processors on your phone. What if you could farm the other 6 off? And then just create this Wi-Fi hub in a city. And it's opt-in or opt-out, whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
And then just imagine the processor farms you could build with that. Saying, okay, we need to render this. And then 100,000 people offer up their phones or whatnot. And it just sits there in the background, just farming something, pushing information back over a Wi-Fi. And then just developing this enormous supercomputer that's literally mobile.
Yeah.
Imagine that. Wouldn't that be cool? So, sorry about that. We just took a quick break because I got a little bit overhyped and I might have knocked over my microphone. Sorry about that. but that's just me. I like little new technologies. I like wild ideas. Like, do you remember, or what was it? Do you remember Google Glass?
Yes.
What happened to Google Glass?
It never feel very comfortable in your face, and it was very
because they stuck a camera to it.
Yeah.
Why would you stuck such a huge piece of technology to you don't need a camera on your glasses.
I put the glasses on. It is very weighty, and it kept falling off your head, and it was very distracting. You could not drive with that on your face.
Oh, that's a shame.
Yeah, it was ambitious. It was ambitious but rubbish, as Jeremy Clarkson would say.
Well, now we have HoloLens from Microsoft, and I'm looking forward to that. To be honest, I like gadgets.
Glasses. It just feels.
I love gadgets. Okay. Look, I would like to watch a YouTube video whilst I'm walking in the middle of the park, and no one knows what I'm watching. Okay, that's essentially what I'm getting at.
Okay.
I need my YouTube fix, man.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so let's jump into your science article now, because this is something we've been talk about for a few weeks now, actually.
4 weeks. Because we were supposed to do that 2 weeks ago, but E3 happened, and that blew everything in the water. Yeah. So, science article of the week. So, gene modification. The concept of taking DNA, making a change, and then letting the DNA go again, you know? I would say the easiest example for people to understand would be GMO-based foods, whereby you have corn, and then you have GMO corn, which produces more corn. It is a very, very, very basic modification of the corn, but then they eventually added modifications whereby it produces its own toxins to ward off pests. And people have been kicking up a stink about it by how it's unhealthy for you, and so on and so forth, which is absolute garbage, because if it was unhealthy for you, they wouldn't be planting it. All kinds of stuff like that. So gene modification is not a new idea. It's not the same as intelligent design, that's selectively breeding out all the good features about a dog until it's a useless ball of crap, i.e. a pug. Yeah, it's adorable. It also can't breathe. Haha, funny. So gene modification is a bit of a sci-fi thing. I'm sure you've seen movies, books, series, or even video games about someone being modified to be better at something. Yeah. Super soldiers or X-Men mutants from comic books, you know, they are mutants, their DNA has been modified. There are the mutates, which is technically what Deadpool is. Deadpool is a person that was modified, so on and so forth. It's a bit of a sci-fi thing, but about 2 years ago, people started taking this a little bit more seriously, or 2.5 years ago actually, if I'm remembering correctly, by the invention of something called, CRISPR, C-R-I-S-P-R. Do you know what this is, Muaaz?
No.
Not?
I do not follow biology much.
Okay. How long do you think the war has been going on between bacteria and viruses?
Since the dawn of organics.
Yes, that is the correct answer. And how this war essentially works is bacteria grows quickly enough before the viruses can overwhelm them. A virus infects the bacteria, turns it into a machine to make more viruses. Bacteria develop something called the CRISPR protein, which is essentially a little train that rides along DNA, wrapping around it, pulling it through. And CRISPR would have bits of virus DNA inside of it, something that it has to look out for. And as soon as it comes across a match, it cuts the DNA off and reattaches it as soon as that pattern no longer matches. It is essentially a little factory that pulls DNA through. You can't see me mimicking this.
Yeah.
Cuts off, pulls through again, cuts off again, reattaches, essentially fixing the DNA. Bacteria evolved this, I don't know how many hundreds of thousands of years ago, no one knows for sure. But scientists isolated this protein, stripped it of its own molecules, you know, to no longer make it a bacteria thing, and started making it a bit more generic. And they've started now, instead of having it cut DNA out, someone thought, why not have it cut DNA in?
So basically splicing DNA into an existing strain.
Or altering it, cutting out something old, putting in something new even. And they did this with a mosquito. The mosquito in question being the African mosquito. And that mosquito no longer has ridges inside its inner nose. Those ridges, I forgot the technical term, I call them ridges because they look like ridges when they sketch them in books. I'll try and link the video where this is discussed, it's absolutely amazing. Those ridges is where malaria climb into and wait for the mosquito virus to latch onto someone else and spread. the mosquito was immunized or modified in such a way that it was immune to the malaria virus. It could no longer be a carrier.
A vector.
A vector, thank you. Therefore, developing a mosquito which they will release into the wild, it will breed and it will make more mosquitoes that will still suck your blood, yes, but you won't get malaria anymore. It not only cut out the DNA that made the mosquito vulnerable, it put in proteins that said this is a dominant gene. If it breeds, it would carry this gene across. Which I think is absolutely fantastic.
That is brilliant. That's things that people much smarter than me will figure out.
But it's been done.
Yeah, it's amazing.
It's done. Well, it's not done as in you can buy it done. It's been done in a lab. Let me put it this way.
Lab setting, basically.
There's a difference between a scientist doing something and something being available for the public, and that difference is called 10 years, which is unfortunate. But that's not why I wanted to bring this discussion up. I bring this discussion up because I saw something a bit more amazing. So, who of you listening is allergic to eggs? Don't put up your hand. Your colleagues are going to look at you funny because I can't see you. But just pretend you put up your hand if you're allergic to eggs. You can't eat chicken eggs. You're allergic to something. There is a protein in it that essentially makes you allergic to it. And about 2% of children worldwide share this condition. Unable to
digest.
Not to digest something. You're unable to eat it because if you were to eat it, you would have an allergic reaction. The same protein found in eggs is found in certain vaccines, which means you can't receive certain types of vaccines. You need to receive special vaccines, which is even more difficult. So one little scientist, and I will link the article, used CRISPR to modify a chicken embryo before it was born. So before the embryo actually starts growing, they had the CRISPR gene run through it, modify the gene to now exclude this protein from it. Therefore, the chicken would grow, hatch, grow up to be an adult chicken, and when this chicken were to lay eggs, those eggs would no longer carry this protein which people are allergic to. Therefore, it is a modified egg. It's still the exact same thing. It's still an egg that a chicken come from. It's still something you can eat. Only one little protein was removed from it that your body apparently reacts badly to. One little modification. But as a species, we found a way to modify food to counteract allergies. Isn't that amazing? Food is one of our chief concerns on this planet at this point in time. You know, people being like, oh, I'm allergic to this or that, or I can't eat this, but this is all food there is because there's too little food. So people, are faced with difficult decisions. We might have started a path where we can change what we eat. Not by changing our diet plan, but purely because I'm changing this broccoli to a different kind of broccoli. One that I can now eat. I will no longer swell up like a red balloon when I eat this broccoli. There are still some people that won't eat the broccoli because it's broccoli, but you can't turn broccoli into chocolate. That's not what we're getting at. We're modifying
Not yet.
Look, that's Terry Pratchett level of sci-fi, okay?
I'm imagining a world where you inject a strand into a seed and you're growing chocolate off a branch.
Look, when that day comes, I will run naked in the streets smothered in chocolate. Because it would be amazing. But I doubt it's going to come in our generation.
Oh, that would be such a bad virus. Like, imagine if that thing had to run wild and the world was turning into chocolate. Well, like the chocolate apocalypse.
That's the fun thing about CRISPR. It can't survive on its own. It dies very quickly.
Okay.
CRISPR is about as big as a virus itself, but it has no virus-like properties, and it is much smaller than a bacteria.
It's good to know.
But that is a concern, though. This modifier that you've made is a biological agent.
I know, that's what I was getting to.
Yeah, CRISPR is a biological agent. How do you control it? Well, simply put, it's something that doesn't survive on its own. And if it doesn't find a DNA pattern to match, it won't replace it. But what if it replaces the wrong thing, I hear you ask? That is the chief reason why CRISPR is such a slowly developing technology.
Yeah, because it's biological and you're putting it in your food, basically.
Well, you're not putting it in your food, you're putting it in your body.
Yeah.
They're running human trials this year. I don't know when they're running human trials, but they're running human CRISPR trials to cut out. Okay, they recognize one of the common patterns amongst cancer. It's not a cure.
Yeah.
Before
There's no cure
anyone,
for cancer.
Yeah, there's no such thing because cancer is broken DNA. But there is a trial that will be placed on humans to
restring the cancer cells.
To restring the DNA inside cancer cells and hopefully convince the cancer to stop being cancer. Or at least it's a subject by subject basis because you first have to take DNA from them, match up their DNA, find the fault, feed the fault as separate strands into a sample of
It's a long
CRISPR,
game, basically.
have it grow, so on and so forth. It is an extremely complicated process, but an extremely fascinating one. But it is a biological agent after all, and there's a lot of people, and don't even get me started on those anti-vaxxers. There's a lot of people that say any modification of any biological kind should not go near your body because it is bad. Everything biological is bad. I'm like, you are biological, you moron.
Yeah. That problem I have with that argument is within a few months or a year, none of the cells or things inside you match from where you were initially.
5 years.
5 years, yes.
5 years is your atomic cyclic period.
That's your refresh period.
Yes.
You are modifying yourself on a day-to-day basis. You are modifying yourself by the amount of food you eat. You are changing yourself more than...
Your DNA has the ability to modify itself.
Yeah.
The day you are born and the day you die, if you were to take DNA samples from both, you would find a 0.003% difference, I think.
But it's a difference. You are not the same person.
It is a difference in
you
DNA.
are literally not the same person you were yesterday because things have changed in that period of time. So...
And it's dependent on environment. I mean, if you give birth to twins, do an experiment. Send one to the desert, send one to Canada. You know, watch. Yeah. They will be different people.
Yeah. I think we actually should link to that, the John Oliver thing about anti-vaccine, because that whole talk.
Yeah, but that's just a tangentially related topic because that's a lot of people saying, well, I don't want to put strange things in my child's body because it might be harmful. Yes, but CRISPR is a new type of thing whereby you give CRISPR your child's DNA and CRISPR makes sure your child doesn't change. Or it makes sure it changes it in the right way.
Okay, you just gave me a really stupid thought.
What did I give you?
You don't want your child to change.
It's like, no, my little angel is perfect. Your child is setting my car on fire, madam. Get it some CRISPR.
I want the child to change very urgently.
Okay, but at least change it in predictable way, so to speak. Find the parts of DNA that a virus has infected. Like, let's take the most famous and infamous virus at this point in time in our history, AIDS. HIV and AIDS is still an enormous problem. It is still incurable. And it infects a cell, takes over that cell, and uses it to spread. CRISPR would go into that cell and saying, hang on, this is a DNA strand I don't recognize. A rapidly mutating DNA strand as well. That's a big problem. And it'll rip it out. Therefore, your cell that was infected no longer contains the HIV virus. Meaning, after a few months, the virus would die out. And you would be healthy again. This is what... Okay, it's not going to do it next year. It's not going to do it the year after that. Maybe 40, 50 years. We'll check again.
But it's...
But eventually, it's like you said, pipeline. Eventually, we will be using CRISPR, either in embryos or maybe even fully grown humans because of the nature of genetics. You have to modify something before it grows. Real sci-fi comes around when you can modify something that's already alive, but that's hugely complicated because you have to modify 1 trillion cells without having them killing one another.
And you got all the dependencies between each other, and it's a mess. Life is complex.
Life is more complicated than people give it credit for. It is. I mean, a DNA strand alone, if you were to enlarge it to a size where you can see it, it would go from here to the sun several times. It is huge. It is enormous. And if one little letter goes wrong, you can get cancer. And this little protein just runs along this little track, finds that letter that's wrong, cuts it out, puts a new one in, and off it goes. Isn't that amazing?
Yeah, it's cool. Anyway, do you want to wrap up quickly? Been going for an hour.
Well, I want to wrap up, but, I kind of like just talking.
Oh, I like talking too. But let's get into what we're looking forward to next 2 weeks. So what's coming up now?
Well, I'm moving house, so I don't think I'm going to be able to bring up something interesting. Unless I find something interesting in the new house. I know I already have a little walk-in closet, which is awesome.
Okay.
Okay, look, this is going to sound very weird. I'm interested to see where this wall of solar panels thing is going to go.
Mm-hmm.
That Trump announced, that's making all the liberals quite confused.
Yeah, if he makes it that far, I will.
I'm quite curious to see how this would work because I just want to see what happens.
Yeah.
I mean, it's bad and good at the same time. So I want to see where it goes. I also want to see what happens to Brexit because, negotiations started with the broken government because of Theresa May. I want to see where that goes because that's a ball of fire.
British politics was interesting these last few weeks. What am I looking forward to? Nuts. I don't know. There's nothing coming up now. News looking pretty quiet on the horizon.
Well, currently we're having a Steam Summer Sale going on, which will be done by the time this podcast airs.
I only bought like tutorials, like video tutorials. That's all I've done.
I bought 2 games, refunded the one almost immediately because it had no options menu or something like that. I was like, it's an old school shooter, but you don't have any modifications you can put on it. It's rubbish. Refunded it. And then I got another roguelike shooter, which there's quite a few of, but I found another one called Strafe?
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 I've seen a bit of that. I don't like it. It's that old school one, like Doom.
No. It's polygonal pixel graphics with bloom rendering.
Okay.
And it's roguelike, and it's a shooter, and I love roguelike shooters because they're far and few between. Ziggurat was the one I played for a good while. I mean, I enjoyed Ziggurat a lot, but I could never make it past the 3rd level. That game is hard.
Okay. Well, I'm playing Hollow Knight right now. I love it.
It's an awesome game.
It's adorable, and the sound effects is amazing. And I'm going to be doing a lot of courses. I'm really busy at work right now.
Yeah, okay, that's something I'm looking forward to now at least. I'm going to start a UI course, hopefully if I can find one, a UI course on Android. How to make Android little animation, like you push a button and something slides rather than just appears. Stuff like that. I want to start doing that now because my workplace has started to require me to do this and they can't find actual UX designers, so I'm kind of stuffed.
Okay.
I have to force myself to do that, and I hate programming a UI. It is so boring.
Yeah, well, good luck with that. Anyway, let's wrap it up quickly. So, Chris, take us out, please.
Take us out. No one loves you.
See you guys next time.